Hi Akshat, are you excited?
I am. We have someone from the college actually thought of a podcast.
You have done far lot of things in your own discipline than more than any other person who I've seen in the college.
And then I met Aditya Tamne. And like I wasn't even in a design school when I was interning for them. Like my philosophy is be shameless until you get it. Like I just don't think everyone is thinking about you. If you want to engage with someone, try to talk about them more rather than about yourself.
Why would anyone be interested in a college student or in the thinkings of a college student?
Having that philosophy of going out there and getting what you want, it takes time, but you have to be like that. The person you want to talk to, there are hundreds of people who want to talk to the
them.
same person.
Hi Akshat, how are you?
So,
Are you excited?
I am kind of excited. I think we have been, planning to do this for a while. So I'm quite excited. Yeah.
Can you please sort of tell our audience what you do, how you do it, why do you do it,
Okay.
and just a brief.
Okay. So hey, I'm Akshat Agarwal. I am a design student in MIT right now. Taking graphic design as my niche, and I try to learn, explore, and live design. And I think that's what I do, and I love doing that. I've been part of multiple studios in terms of internships or freelance gigs.
Can you name
Okay, so Damn Design is one of them. I also work with the agency Watermelon for 2 months.
them?
I am doing an internship in Newchair right now. I was associated with Studio Hyphen. I also worked with Please See as an indirect guy. I also worked with Conrad recently, indirect, but they outsource project. Yeah, so like I've been into multiple situations where I have to work with people I don't know, and I love it. And being part of teams and exploring what you want. So yeah,
Lovely, lovely.
yeah.
Mm.
Like I think we discussed the starting of the podcast when you were starting to, write
Yeah.
things like that, and yeah, it sounded really fascinating to me that someone from the college actually thought of a podcast. So that's really good. I'm really fucking thrilled. But yeah, can I swear?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's not a podcast for like kids, so it's fine.
Yeah, family friendly, but with just
Ha. Mm.
you can beep it out. Yeah.
True. But okay, so to everyone who actually don't know this, the basic logo of Lemon Lessons was made by Mr. Akshat Agarwal. I remember I was going through such a hard time in terms of the branding and everything, and that's when I sort of approached you with this very rough idea that, Akshat, I want something Indian. I want something, something that's just loud like I am. And I don't know how we sort of just had like 1 or 2 meetings actually.
Yeah.
Because you were also quite caught up in
Yeah.
something.
I think I was home
Hmm.
at the time, and we discussed on WhatsApp that okay, these are the things that are coming off on and off from the idea of the branding, and I just thought, like, I mean, I know you, like we have been friends since first year, so I wanted to give this podcast like the personality from looking from the personality angle. It's like, it should be vibrant, it should be outspoken, it should be fun, it should be loud. So then I took a reference of, like how Indian truck art is. And if you see and go look up the motif work they do, it's very vibrant, it's very bright colors, and it has that passion to, speak themselves through visuals. And I thought that can be perfect for the podcast. So I just went with that style, and I think, yeah, I think it's looking interesting, the branding idea.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because I remember you showed me like 4 logo ideas, and I went with the first one only.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is giving the vibe. Let's just finalize with this. But yeah, you couldn't. You were a little busy, so
Yeah,
you have
I
not
was a
been
little
to
caught
all
up. Yeah. I was home as well,
that.
and I think something happened.
Yeah, plus Judy, our college Judy. Yeah, so everyone out there, he is literally of the same batch, the person
Yeah.
in my college, doing the same stuff that we all are doing. And that's majorly why I called you also on the podcast, because I know for a fact that we all have the same amount of time, the same
Yeah.
24 hours we get. But you have done far lot of things in your own discipline than more than any other person who I've seen in the college. Now, now the main thing that I really wanted to ask you was, how do you initially drew up the idea of graphic design, and what did you do? Like, what did you do to start the learning process of it, and what was all that?
I mean, do we have to go really far back in the timeline, or can I brief it up?
Just let me know like the few things that made you trigger
Okay.
ki.
So I think for me. It was never graphic design. First of all, like I was super into coding. So my dad took me to coding classes in class 6. I was really into it because I was just a nerd, I guess. But like I always was fascinated with this idea of making games with coding and like just building games, because I love to play games. And I eventually made 2-3 games on my own. But then I realized that it took me like 6 to 7 months to build one game alone. I was like, not really fascinated by the time distribution, and the games were shitty as well. It was not like I'm trying to imagine myself making GTA 5, but I can't do that alone. It's a long process, and it takes a lot of people, a lot of budget. And at that age, I wanted something quick, and I can see the results, and that can boost me more into leaning it forward. And then I went into visual effects, apparently, and I started learning.
Apparently.
Yeah, in grade 7, I started learning After Effects, and used to shoot those super goofy parodical videos of myself, like just like teleporting to some place, or like there's this thing where you just keep the camera and you act in phases, and then you take those 2 layers of videos and slap it together, so you're basically there in 2 different places but in the same frame. So things like that. Like I wanted to get to know like how cinema works, and shooting film was something I was really nagged about. But then I realized I don't have the hardware to do that. Like every time I used to produce one film, my computer used to crash, and then I was like, not fun. Then in class 8, finally I got into Photoshop. That okay, I can't do After Effects, I can't do coding. So now Photoshop's the only thing that is gonna run and give me results like really fast. And yeah, I started making, like I was really into sports, so I started making football posters for wallpapers, or like even just like desktop wallpapers, just to know and learn how to do that. And yeah, it was very much a hobby back then. I had no idea I would be a graphic designer. Like I got a new PC. I begged my dad to get me a PC, and he did. And then I started doing 3D, and that was the start of 3D for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so in class 10th, I started working on CGI projects, and along with that, a lot of freelance projects. And yeah, like it just continued to be that. After 12th, COVID happened. So I was home for 2 years. I I I wanted to come to college. I applied to MIT a year before, but then I thought, what's the point of going to college if it's online
Yeah.
for your foreseeable future? So I wanted to wait it out. So I took admission in a BCom college. Yeah, I dropped BCom or for MIT in a way. But yeah, while I was doing that, I started freelancing really, interestingly. Like I got projects from music industry, primarily because I was really into making album artworks, album covers, visualizers for musicians, and yeah, and then I met Aditya Tamle and got my
Shout out to Aditya Damle.
down design always. But yeah, like then started working with them, and eventually I got into MIT. So
Mm. So you mentioned Aditya Damle. Now we all know he's a very
yeah,
huge designer. How was working with him? How was that experience?
I'll tell you a story like how I met him. So there's this designer with the name Sam Nadi,
Yeah.
and she is a really big graphic designer, by the way. She bought out of Parsons,
Hmm.
and she was doing this series on cyberpunk India,
Hmm.
and she was illustrating posters.
Hmm.
So I was really inspired by her work, and I just DM'd her that, okay, can I replicate your poster in 3D?
Hmm.
And I just want to ask your permission because I don't want to, copyright your thing. And she was like, oh, you know what? Let's collaborate. And I had like merely like 300 followers back then. She had like 40K or something. And I was, like shocked that someone wants to work with me.
Yeah.
So eventually I got there, and yeah, we collabed, and Aditya was working with her on a project for Aja Kumari.
Hmm.
And yeah, she posted my work on her feed. So Aditya eventually saw me and DM'd me that, okay, it's great work and everything. And we chatted. And after a while, there was a competition in Dam Design to make like a collateral for this contest. And I made a motion poster, and it went up to the runners-up position. And he offered me to get a poster of his signed and printed and delivered to my home. So I was like, I don't want your poster. Can I work with you on a project instead? Like in terms of a reward, just let me work with you. And I want to learn with you how to do graphic design and everything. And he just offered me an internship. We had a 1 hour long WhatsApp call. He interviewed me. And yeah, I was it. First, like, damn design as an intern. So yeah, like it was kind of weird for me because all the other interns there, they were like 4th-year graduates doing their graduation projects in damn design. And I was the one with no degree. Like I wasn't even in a design school when I was interning for them. But yeah, it started over there, and I got to learn, like, I worked on multiple branding projects, like majorly, and some motion projects. But I think so. DAM is owned by 2 people, back then 3 people: Adarsh, Aditya, and Anisa. All of them are MIT alumni, by the way. So I got to work with Anisa as well, where she led me to learn how to do branding with geometrical sense, and I picked up on that. We did a project called Gemma, a jewelry brand. And yeah, like it was a fun experience because back then I was learning everything by myself. So getting to work with people and to understand design in a team space, that was something very new for me. And how to pick up feedbacks, how to, think very niche things, like how to send proposal to clients, how to talk to clients, how to present. All of these ideas came to me. I never became an expert back then, but I had an idea that, okay, you have to do these things in order to go forward with projects. And yeah, like eventually I got too interested in graphic design, and then I was like, okay, let's go to a college now. Like it's high time. I'm in a flow. I want this thing to happen to me. So yeah, I came to a idea after that.
So, firstly, I wanted to ask this one thing. You mentioned that you just sort of texted
Yeah.
her, when you know that she is at such a level in her life, like
Yeah.
40K. And I think I want to like sort of get an idea from your side, because a lot of opportunities we can just get out of the blue. Like you
Yeah,
just have to
definitely.
take one chance,
Definitely.
just text. And I'm sure you didn't text her with the idea, oh, I'll get to work with her, just to just, have a conversation, which ended up into an internship.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, I think, sort of are scared to do. They're like, abhi kya, matlab, how does it matter if I sort of connect with someone? Like, for example, if I know that this one visiting faculty has come to college, like just
Yeah.
taking an example, and I know that this person is someone in the industry,
Yeah.
but a few of them would go and just have a conversation with them, but most of them just don't do that because they think कि अरे होगा भी क्या हमारा conversation करके. Why would anyone be interested in
Yeah.
a college student or in the thinkings of a college student?
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? Because obviously you didn't know that, bro. And I've really realized that in the industry, if you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter how, like, obviously it matters, the experience matters.
Yeah.
But if they see potential, if they see, okay, if there is something in this guy, maybe I can learn something from him, and they do try to collaborate.
Definitely, I totally agree. I think for me, like my philosophy is be shameless until you get it. Like I just don't think everyone is thinking about you, and anyone will come to you with the opportunity you want. You have to go there. You have to talk. You have to get it. Simple as that. Like if I am the one giving out opportunities to someone, I would not go and knock on the door each and every time, because there are a lot of people coming knocking on my door, right? So I'm just too busy in that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if you want something, you can just be outspoken for it, even if your work is not good enough. If you think it's not good enough, right? I just think approaching them will make you realize that, okay, what are the things I can work on? They can talk to you and they can mentor you in a way that, okay, this time I can't take you in, but next time you have to come with these things in your portfolio, in your CV, then I'll take you in. So you get an understanding of the industry standard, you get an understanding of what people want, and it clarifies a lot of questions you might have in terms of, going and approaching. And secondly, if you like someone's work, even if you don't want to work with them, it's like just go and talk. Just say that you like their work. I am sure they'll like that someone is coming to me and talking about my work, right?
Yeah.
And like interestingly, there's this thing I read in a book that if you want to engage with someone, try to talk about them more rather than about yourself first. Because if you don't give them that space, they will never be interested in you. Right? So if I'm talking to you, I will try to talk about your podcast. I'll try to talk about your UX, work. And then you'll eventually be like, okay, what's your deal?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Because if I don't set that predicament, before I even go and talk, it's gonna be flat. Like there are many people who wanna talk about themselves right at the start, but that's very, like it's not engaging for me as someone who comes up to me and talk about me first and then talk about themselves. So it's just a conversation starter, and I think people get nervous a bit because they doubt themselves over the work, and why would someone talk to them and things like that. But I feel like it's just like you have to be used to it. Like you can't just say that, okay, someone doesn't want to talk to you. Talking is fine. Working, you can see baad maybe, like like you have to start the conversation. If nobody is waiting for you to, like nobody is gonna come and talk to you for your thing. You have to get it yourself. And yeah, be shameless. Like I to fully support, like apply to any studios if you want.
Yeah.
It does not matter because with the kind of pace and with the kind of factors, even if your work is good, let's say, even if I'm good at what I do, they might not have the vacancy for me because they don't think I can contribute up to my potential. So it's not personal to my work, but as a team, I won't be a good fit.
Yeah.
So a lot of factors are there to consider that, like whether you will be a part of a team or not. But if you initiate the conversation, I'm sure he will remember you somewhere. And when there's a project, when there's an opportunity, he'll get back because he will like your work. I think having that philosophy of going out there and getting what you want, it takes time, but you have to be like that
Yeah.
because they're like the person you want to talk to, there are hundreds of people who want to talk to the same person. So in a way, it's competing, but I think it's chill anyway. Like if you really want to talk, just go and say hi. I'm sure they will reply.
It'll be
It's not like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I also believe, like, with being shameless, you also sort of need to accept the fact that you might not be the best. Because that's what makes us scared, no? Ki bhai kaise puche unse? What if they comment? And the moment I accepted it, na, yes, people will say no to me. Yes, people will tell me that, bhai, तुम नहीं होती अच्छी कि मेरे साथ काम करो या मेरे को नहीं करना है तुम. So multiple times I approach people, but when I tell them that, I just have like these many subscribers, they sort of push back. They're like, कि, abhi she is in the starting game. Let's see आगे क्या होता है and all that stuff. So that sort of makes me feel a little, कि, bro.
But then you also feel motivated, right?
That I need to reach that point.
And then, reach back to them again, and then realize you can start going.
Correct.
So I think that motivation is something I feed on. And being a designer, you can't be the best.
You really can't.
You can't. That mentality will kill you at your creative process because you learn every single day, right? I always wish to be the second best person in the world if I want to be. Like, I can't be the best because being the best, the morning I wake up, I'll be like, what's there to achieve? So that's not exciting for me. And I'm always excited for the new stuff. So it's, you can't grow as a person in that space.
True. Now, I also want to talk about a few internships that you have done. Like, you can take any intern because I know there are multiple works out there. Yeah. So, any two works that you think are close to your heart, maybe even failed projects, whatever you think you've learned the most in, and the audience can also sort of relate to those works a lot.
I think the first was Dan. As I said, like, we worked on multiple projects over there, and the major thing I learned over there was like how to manage your time. I think, because I think as a studio we were working on 5 different projects at the same time. So every day we have to schedule like 10 to 2, I have to work only on this, and then from 2 to 3 I have to work on this. Then there's a meeting. Then from 4:30 to 6, I have to work on this. And it was blocked for the entire week. So I have to follow that. And now, I've never been a design student. I've never done this thing ever. And suddenly it comes to me that you have to do things like this. You have to manage your times. And I think that was the biggest thing I took out of it and took major advantage of it for my future. Because I learned how to manage my time in that.
And be disciplined also with this schedule. Because a lot of times happens, मेरे को क्या होता है, I have made this schedule that I'll go with it, but then
it does not.
I end up following for maximum week and I'm like, what?
Yeah, but I think I make a to-do list in a similar way. Like I list down the things I want to do, and at the end of the day, I'm like, if I'm almost done with everything, I'm happy. It does not have to be the complete list, but if I'm almost down the list, I'm good. Like,
you're good.
Yeah, it's because I can't catch up to do everything with the pace I am doing. Especially, like, I don't think people will want to work like me, and I don't recommend people to work like me. But yeah, like it's quite hectic. I think we don't meet in college for months. just because I'm working all the time.
We don't. I don't think so. Anyone meets you in college
Yeah.
just because you're in the room working mostly. And
I think in my second year, there was an email on our Outlook page. So there was this alumni, Meenal Jadeja. She was looking for graphic designers, and apparently Harshit Desai sir made a form, and second years can't apply to that position.
okay.
So he made that thing that only if you're third and fourth year, then only you can apply.
By the way, Harshit sir is our
Placement cell.
placement cell head of
Yeah.
the college, MIT. Yes.
So I just took her Instagram and just texted her that, okay, I'm from MIT.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't fill up the form you gave out.
Mm-hmm.
So can I apply?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, sure. And then I sent her my work.
Mm.
And yeah, we got in an interview. It was quite fun.
Hmm.
She, like, Meenal, she's amazing as a mentor. Like, I am so grateful to work with her because we have been working together since like 2.5 years now. Since second year, I've been working with her, and now we have a studio as well. So that's exciting. Yeah, a team of 4.
Yeah.
But it's so much. Like I've learned so many things. So like I can't list down the things I've learned from her. Like even things like humility and kindness, and like taking care of yourself, taking care of people you love. It's been amazing. Like I don't think I've met a person like me in my life, and yeah, she actually has changed the way I look at things. And yeah, I'm very fucking grateful. But yeah, we started working on branding projects, and one project I'm really proud of is Her Kajal Means Much.
Mm.
So it's a podcast again. We did a branding project for that. We branded the entire thing from scratch. Even the name was come up by us as a studio. And yeah, I had great fun because the podcast is about this liberation of South Asian women's movement, and it talks about how brown-skinned women take leaps, and there are so many boundaries in our society, not just in India but in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even outside. And women in our community has to go through these things just to prove themselves that they have to, they can do something. And I just took it up because it was very interesting to me. And I was quite surprised that me as a man, they took me up for that branding project, because I just thought naturally a woman would be a better fit for the project, but they trusted me with the idea. And yeah, anyone can be a feminist. It's not genders. And I think people should treat everyone equally at the end of the day. But my narrative and my thought process in that project went so wide that I can understand things. So we contributed to the project a lot. It has been nominated as the best the podcast for women's internationally in London recently.
That's amazing.
And yeah, we are starting off with our 3rd season now.
Amazing. That's
So that's gonna be interesting. We have another things planned for the future. Right now they are retainer like client for us, so we work for them. Work on the social media and other design stuff. So we are the internal design team basically. But yeah, like it was quite interesting as a project. I something which is very close to my heart.
very close to that.
Yeah.
If you can somehow tell our audience what was the whole process of the project. Now you've told me the objective of the project and what you felt behind it. But if we have to go into the technicalities, now for example, I am a student and I've gotten an opportunity like this, that someone comes up to me that I have this podcast, this idea. How did you manage your way from the thought, like that raw thought of the person, and actually put it into a design which helped her into,
Okay.
branding the whole thing, or in whichever way you helped her in the podcast?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a typical branding process.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one I follow or we follow as a studio is basically we do it in 4 phases.
Hmm.
So the first phase is brand discovery. So in discovery, we ask ourselves who is the target audience,
Hmm.
what is the brand doing, what is the objective of the brand, what is its aims and aspirations, and all of those research. What are the competitive brands or people doing in the same space? How is their visual language doing for the audiences they serve?
Yeah.
Whether there's a gap in their communication or not,
Mm.
or we can learn something from their communication, like something that they are doing and it's doing really well with the audiences. So I think understanding how others are doing in the same space and also knowing who you're targeting is the first step, because without that you will get no context of what to communicate, right?
Correct.
Then we come to brand strategy.
Hmm.
So then we make up strategy that from the research we have,
Hmm.
that we know that this person I have to target. Let's say I have to target college students, right? And let's pick a topic. Give me a topic. Suggest me a topic about a brand.
Food.
Food. Okay. So let's say I am branding. I'm branding a culinary class brand for Gen Z students to learn how to make meals which are protein intensive, easy to make in their hostels. Right? A very simple branding brief. And now I know who to target.
Hmm.
Now I know what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Now I'll check out what others are doing.
Hmm.
So some of them are doing, let's say, reels, or some of them are doing content formats in terms of PDFs, menus, or something like that. So I'll understand that, and I'll get to my strategy, and I'll pinpoint these 3 things, which is personality of the brand. What is my personality? So every brand is a person, right? And you have to list down the things that how the person is. So in Nuture, like Nuture is the name of the studio I'm working for right now. So in Nuture, we always name our person. Like we'll say the brand is, let's say if it's a culinary classes thing, the brand is a dropout chef from a 5-star hotel, and now he's teaching kids how to make meals. So we'll be very specific about the communication. We'll specifically say that the brand is like that, and we then try to set up tone of voice. And after we have talked about the personality, we'll have traits that the brand is innovative, the brand is young, uber, urban, things like that. And then after that, we'll come to the tone of voice, in which we'll decide how the brand will speak to its audience. So there are many ways of saying the same thing, right? So let's say if I want to say, if I have an app for my brand that shows up like classes, so the name of the recipes. Now I can say chicken tikka masala, but I can also say like something like chicken fiesta, margarita, or like using some fancy words to up the class. So that comes up in my tone of voice. That how am I supposed to bring it out? Are we doing like a very fun, cool uncle vibes, or are we doing like a very serious teacher vibes? So that everything like that has to be decided in our strategy, because that entails what the brand is going to be like in front of the audiences. And after we did that, we comes to the visuals, which is now I know if it's serious, I'll decide colors on the seriousness part. I'll try to go for blues and greens and whites and blacks. But if it's fun, I'll go for teal and yellow and like bright colors, pink maybe. But yeah, it all depends on the strategy you're narrowing down to, because that's very important to build up. Because without that, you will have no story. And like strategy is like a baby, okay? like a very simple way to explain it is, let's say you're raising a kid and you teach him these things, but over the years, the kid will also evolve and have its own meaning, right? So you have to strategize like that. So I'm sure, like, let's say a brand like Uber, their strategy in the first year, their strategy in the second year will be very different because it evolves. What the brand is going to do, it depends on that, right? What are your business acquisition plans? It will change according to that, and you have to basically narrow it down to that. Like Zomato, it didn't used to be so fun,
Yeah, no, it
right?
didn't.
And then it eventually became like that. So they like strategy is a work in progress. It's like a kid again. You raise it and then you realize, okay, we can do these things to make it perfect or to make it work for ourselves.
Yeah,
So
because a lot of people, they get worked up on the fact that, okay, I want to start something, I need to come up with a strategy for it, and it has to be the best because I won't be able to change it later. I want to be at that strategy. But that's what they don't understand, that you can change the strategy whenever and however you feel like, in terms of the analytics you're getting.
Exactly. Like with your podcast as well, you were having a chat at Picos. And yeah, so we discussed that, these are the things you can do.
In the
And
future.
you can re-strategize your
correct.
brand and reposition it and always make it work for yourself. So it does not have to be hard or rigid something, but it should be a starting point for your next phase always.
Yeah, because now when anyone talks about the podcast, no, all of them are like, oh, it's a design-centric podcast. But right now, the people I'm surrounded with are into design. But obviously later on, I would want to
Expand
into more other fields. So yes, I totally get that point. And it really, once you understand now that you can change whenever
Yeah.
you want, you really do. It's totally, it's
As an independent creator, you can. Yeah.
as an independent creator, you can. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you are.
Yeah, because I mean, if you are in collaboration with other people, co-hosting with them, you need to keep everyone on the same page. Then only you can make such massive changes.
Exactly.
Correct.
And yeah, then you come to the visuals part.
Third point is
Exactly. And then you try to figure out what the colors can be, what the typography can be, according to the personality traits you have laid out in your strategy, and eventually come up with systems, which is the fourth part.
okay.
So now, how can I package all of them together?
Correct.
So if I'm using the color, let's say my primary colors are red, yellow, and white, and my secondary colors are green, blue, and black. So where to use red, blue, and white? Where do you use green, blue, and black? Having that system in order, whether like in terms of layouting, am I doing left align text, right align text, center align text? What is the scale of the text? What is the scale contrast of my headings from my paragraphs to the captions? Everything like that. It's laid down in a brand guideline, and that basically educates you how to use the branding for your brand, right? And you package it together and then you deliver to the client. So yeah, it has these 4 phases that you can channel in. And yeah, like that's how you do it.
Have you noticed any mistake that people do in these 4 processes, which you have constantly encountered? Other people also do, or you also do. Like you feel like, okay, why are you going in that direction? You don't need to do that. Anything in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes like that. I still do. Like I'm still learning. But like the major thing I think, which is like a problem to me, is like sometimes you get attached to an idea, right? And then you are like, no, this is the right way of doing it. But sometimes it's not, and it's not good to accept that this is the only way you have to do it, right? Because you like that idea so much in your head,
And you've prepped for it
Prepped
so
for it.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you don't explore other direction because you're just pinned into one corner and be like, this is the best. So having that attitude is not helpful.
Yeah.
Like you should explore everything you have and then decide what to do. But yeah, like in ideal situations, like in the real world, timing and deadlines matters. Like that, I think that makes the bridge like so much more challenging because you have to decide in a timeline
Correct.
that what you have to do. And then sometimes in that timeline you can't explore everything, so you have to go with your best shot. And sometimes you're not convinced that this is the right way of doing it, but you still do it because a client won't pay if you just cross the deadline. So yeah, like it is a lot of things, but I think with experience, you get used to the process so much that in your head you know that this is not wrong. Like I think curation in design is the most like important thing you can have. Like I still have an habit, so I have this thing that before sleeping, and the first thing I do in the morning is Behance, Pinterest, and all of these design inspiration pages. I just scroll through it.
Like an Insta feed, you just wrote.
Yeah. It's like I am reading a book basically before going to sleep. 1 hour, waking up first thing in the morning. I have to inspire myself because if you don't know what's going on in the world, you will not be able to catch the trends so fast. And you know, like being a graphic designer, I don't know, it's very controversial to say. I don't like using Helvetica, right? And I'll tell you why. Now, can you name one typeface that was made in this year by a designer? No, right? Because nobody pays attention to what's happening today. Helvetica was made like, what, 30, 40 years ago? And people are still talking about it. Why?
Yeah.
You should talk about new things that are coming up on the market. I understand it's good. I understand it's brilliant in its way. But you also have to see like what other people are doing. There's like thousands of typefaces being produced every month. And graphic designers don't even like, even students, I'm not talking about graphic designers in the industry, but as far as I've seen it in students in MIT, like very few people follow like typography in this depth. And I think that's very important because that's like one of the prime things you should know as a graphic designer, and people just ignore that fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, curation is something you should do. Like I'll tell you one more example. So why do you think students studying in Parsons is way better than students studying in MIT?
Because they get to explore the industry more.
No, so I'll tell you why. Since you were a kid in India, right? Everywhere you go, you see bad design. Right?
Don't touch that.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
since
so-
you aren't.
Since you were a kid in India, everywhere you go, you see bad design. Let's say you went to a restaurant. It does not have a menu. But you know, like a very properly designed menu. And you go to a Kirana store, they don't have any branding. And now look at a kid being raised in London. Every single storefront is branding. Everything is niched down, and they have this visual curation that people just know what good design is since they were a kid. So when someone comes to MIT, being a design student, the first 2 years, they have to figure out what good design is.
Correct.
But for them, they already know what good design is. So the first 2 years, they experiment. We start experimenting in our third year. So we always they are always steps ahead of us
Correct.
in that race. Because when you start experimenting, then you start learning. Without it, you won't learn. You are still figuring out the base things, right? So I think that sets us back a lot in terms of design. And also, like, it's not like personal to everyone, but this is a general scene. And I think with what India is progressing to be, like there are startups coming up right back and center. There are businesses which are being passed down from generational parents to the younger generation. And they know what a logo is. slightly, and they would want to get into businesses which are pan India or like online retails and everything like that. So for them, branding is gonna be a big thing. So I'm actually excited for India because everyone is going through this phase that they know what design is
Yeah.
and they recognize that good design matters, and people are just gonna follow that. Okay, we have to hire a graphic designer to do our
Correct.
things because at the end of the day, it's not gonna work if it's not good design. But yeah, like that's what like I think is the biggest challenge for us to climb up. And like I say this with pride, but I want India to be on the map in graphic design scene, and it's popping a lot since like 5, 6 years now. With people like Khatib Rehan and like uh, Anant Ahuja, and I can't like come up with so many names at the whim, but there's so many influencing graphic designers that I have seen out of India, and I'm quite proud of them. And I want to work with them sometime. So because they inspire me every single day. Like I look at their work every single day, and I try to question my thinking, and I try to push myself across that table. But yeah, like I think that's
Amazing. That's really these are the few things I feel that people should listen to from time again. Like there should be a motivation in terms of you want your country to also stand in the map of the world and be like, yeah, graphic design अभी से क्रिकेट के लिए इंडिया करते रहते हैं. Yeah, now I also wanted to talk to you about how you manage your college.
I can't. Seriously, like every single time, like I think
So hear me out. Now I know that yeah, you do like you are infamous for
yeah, working a lot.
working a lot. Oh shit, working a lot. But at the same time, I want to firstly understand how do you even balance the attendance and everything. Secondly, infamous for working a lot, and we all sort of know that it doesn't always pan out well in terms of ऐसा नहीं होता कि हमेशा college balance हो जाता है.
Exactly.
But firstly, how do you manage that 50, 60, 70% of college management? And secondly, the part where you don't end up managing it, how do you let that sink in? Because a lot of people I've seen, for them, अरे college का मतलब miss हो गया, ये हो गया, assignment में low marks आ गए, कुछ हो गया, it really affects them. They take it to heart. But if you know that on the other hand you're doing something, you're not like फेल इसलिए नहीं हो रहा कि तुम नेटफ्लिक्स और चिल कर रहे हो
Yeah.
या फिर मार्क्स कम इसलिए नहीं आ रहे बिकॉज you just passing time
Makes
because you're putting your time in something else. So any advice or any thought in that direction?
okay. I mean, I I struggle with college for sure. Like it's a headache, yeah. Like at the end of the day, I am always submitting late, but I still go through. I don't know how, but yeah, the biggest challenge I think with people is, like college briefs are interesting, right? You can have fun with it, but real life briefs you have to be a little technical. Like I can't experiment shit in my future work because I can, but like it also depends on what the flight likes, how it's going to be on the plan because it's happening in real life. I can't just make up things. Like how I take it from my college and my other things is college is fun for me. I go total blindly like creative. Like I don't care if the brief makes sense. Like I made a book with a hole in it. Because just because I wanted to make a book with a hole in it. Like I like to make my college briefs more fun for me. So it is like an entertainer for me after I'm exhausted with my freelance work or like my internships or part-time job or everything like that. Because college is one thing where I can breathe. I cannot be criticized so much. I cannot be handled with so much responsibility in my head that okay, it has to be right because it's going on. I can figure out my things in college. So it's all college is fun for me in that way, and I think, yeah, like in terms of balancing time, my routine is like wake up, do some college work till 3, 4, and then start working on your part time everything. Then I have a meeting at 10. It goes up to 1. Then I work again until 6 a.m. and then I sleep and then I wake up at 9. So yeah, it goes on and on. But I think I realized that I can pull it off because I just love what I do. Like I never get tired of, working on things and exploring new things. And yeah, it's just like if you're at it, you won't feel that you're getting exhausted too much. And with marks, I don't give a shit. Like honestly, I have never really thought about marks because I got an internship without even getting in a design.
Design college. Yes.
So I knew that from the start that if my work is good, if I know what I'm doing has some potential, people will come back. It's not about marks.
But in the starting, you said that you were getting all these opportunities, so you thought that I now need to, get into a design college and get it done. So it's a little contradictory here that you said that you want to get into a design college. I want to know what was the thought process then? Ki design college important था, but इतना भी important नहीं है that you cry about marks in it.
Yeah, see, my point of getting into design college, I was a kid in Kolkata, man. I was doing BCom.
Yeah.
Nobody around me talks design. So I wanted that ambience and that surrounding where people talk design to me.
Correct.
And that's the major point where I was like, okay, let's move to a new city where a bunch of people are doing the same thing I'm doing. Because if I'm not in that conversation loop, I will not go. I will always self-teach self things. And eventually I will have to figure out on my own. And a lot of times what happens is when you self-teach yourself, right? You learn, you unlearn, and then you relearn. That's the process.
You learn, unlearn, and you relearn.
Yeah, so because every single time you will learn something, some designer or someone you're working with will say that, okay, it's not supposed to be like that. Then you unlearn and then you relearn. That, okay, this is something. But if I'm in a design circle, if I'm surrounded by designers, I will get that spontaneous rush every single day rather than in weeks. Right? So that was the major point. And I also wanted to know about the industry. A lot of people in our college are influenced by our alumni, right? So it's there. But yeah, like that was the major point where I thought, yeah, let's go to a college.
Amazing. So now we're heading to the end of the podcast. And I would like to ask you 2 questions. First is, any 3 lessons that you think that you learned along your whole graphic design journey?
First is this: never be like rigid about what you want. Like always explore, always find that, if you want to try that thing, try it. Like college is the best time to fail. And if you can fail multiple times, nothing like it. Because when you fail multiple times, you learn a lot. And you figure out what you want at the end of the day, which is the struggle. People don't know what they want. Like for me, it is a struggle that, okay, for my graduation project, I know how to do motion design. I know how to do branding. I know how to do CGI. I know how to do packaging. I know how to do all of those things, photography, filmmaking, video editing. Now, I don't know what to do next.
Correct.
I don't know which one to pick and niche it down. Or should I niche down? That is a battle I'm having right now with myself. That should I go multidiscipline or should I niche down to one thing, be good at it? Or should I just completely go off track and become a UI UX designer?
We don't need any more UX designers. Already इतना हो गया भाई, जगह नहीं है बिल्कुल भी.
Because that is the struggle, right?
Yeah.
You have to figure out what you and like be chill, like nothing's like compete with yourself second. Never see people doing better. It's only gonna drag you back. If you think you want to be better, just compete with yourself.
Correct.
The reason I post on my Instagram It's not because I want followers. It's not because I like to show it to people. It's just for my own personal diary. So if I go back, I can see my improvement.
Plus, a lot of people have told me if you have like an Insta account, it's easier for the people who are recruiting you also to get through your work
Journey, yeah. Because
and your journey.
they can see how you're improving.
Correct.
And yeah, the third thing can be like,
Be shameless.
be shameless. Everything. And like take out time to also like explore yourself as a person. Like go out, have fun with your friends, go on trips, see
Just
places.
don't burden yourself with
Yeah, it's not gonna help you at the end of the day. And also, like, what's the point of you sitting in the corner of that was me like 2-3 years ago, but I think in my third year, started to fade out, started to come out. And
Thank God. Thank God now we'll have Akshat on our trips and
in the fourth year, I'm just gonna ball out. Dude. What gonna work at that?
let's go.
Because I realized that you have to go through these things to understand yourself and what you like as well. But yeah.
Correct. Now, the last question of the whole episode. What do you think is the yellow in you?
In me.
Yeah. What do you think makes you different?
Okay, I mean, I'm not different from everybody, but I just think that I am persistent about some things in my life. And one thing that I really want to do is just go to my home with 2 credit cards. Go to my mom and dad and say that there's no limit. Do whatever you want, whatever in your life you want, and that's it. Like, just give them what they deserve. Because I come from a family where taking arts is like not acceptable. I have to convince my dad that, okay, I can do this thing. And then he took his time, but he eventually supported me. But yeah, like, he has done so much for me, and I think I really want to give them back. And I'm just very persistent about it. Like it comes to my way of personal life and lifestyle as well. That I try to work harder and harder, but it's that cause which pushes me. That okay, one day I have to do this, because it takes one generation to change the dynamic of your entire family, right? And I want to be that generation. So yeah.
Correct. Amazing. It's a wrap. We are done with it.